is my welcome opening sequence for today's Frontier Opening Bell. Everyone, welcome to today's trading day on Frontier Africa. This is how we're getting started for your opening bell. The Nigerian market boxed nearly 30 basis points on Monday because some big names took a deep dive on the day that the global stock markets nosedive on the back of that geopolitical tensions between Russia and Ukraine, and how the West, everyone's saber rattling, trying to see how President Putin will move on the Ukraine and what will be the consequences. That got the stock market rattled. Oil prices moved up. Safe haven for gold and a few other metal products as well. And of course, everyone understands that Russia is one of the world's largest oil and gas producers. So the whole market were rattled on Monday to kick off the new week. There are also concerns about how the U.S. Central Bank will move forward on interest rate as well as inflation expectations in the U.S., in UK, and across Europe as well. So if you look at the BRVM, which went up 1.35%, the rest of the key African markets finished in the negative territory. Okay, so let's move on. Nigeria is on the outlooks for Nigeria's inflation for today. Today's the 15th of February, and we're looking to see whether the Statistics Office will roll out the numbers for inflation figure for the month of February. That is on that table. Let's keep an eye on that as well. What's the headline stories from the East African continent? Well, as always, we start from the East African part of the continent. The market and the economy is looking to move on. The refinery in the troubled oil refinery in Kenya, the Petroleum Corporation is looking at who's going to save it for takeover. And that's the plan, by the way, similar to a refinery issue also in South Africa. Kenya tea exports to Pakistan is forecast to grow by 20% in 2022, while the UK's Caracal Gold has raised $2.7 million for Kilimpesa mine, which is based in Kenya. In the meantime, Anne Muraya has been appointed as the first female CEO for East Africa's Deloitte operations. The global advisory firm has appointed the first female ever to head that position. She'll be taking office effective June the 1st. And DR Congo is set to become the newest member of the East African community. In the last meeting, extraordinary meeting of the East African community decided to set up a committee which is now approved the expansion of the regional bloc to include the largest economy in Central Africa. That is DR Congo. Okay, let's touch base with West Africa, where the Nigeria's fuel scarcity and adulterated issues still grabbing the headlines, but no one is owing up to be responsible for the import of those contaminated products. Queues are still long on the streets of major cities such as Abuja and Lagos, causing vehicular waste of time in traffic. And folks are suffering from energy crisis right now because the usual electricity supply is also short, as it were. One of the country's leading data and information organization, ProShare Nigeria, has released a new economic data report that says the country's economy will grow by 2.6% in 2022. That's significantly different from other forecasts of 2.4% by the IMF and the World Bank. And the Norway's Development Finance Organization, known as NORAD, is granted $56 million funding to ATI for Africa's energy sector, while the African Union is looking to benefit $11.4 million grant from the African Development Fund, which is a funding arm of the AFDB group. And Ghana's Minister of Finance has reclassified which organizations or deals to be affected by the newly introduced e-levy. Ghana's revenue agency is moving ahead to implement the e-levy before the approval comes from the Parliament. That is still being discussed. Meantime, in BIPMAC, which is the Central African Stock Exchange, Harvest Asset Management reporting that its total assets under management, or AUM, was in excess of 240 billion CFA franc for 2021. How are we standing right now? What are the big news across the Southern Africa space? Well, earnings coming through, we said, from Amplats and others. Green Road says it's flagging its expansion of terminal operations in Mozambique, in Maputo and Matola. And the IMF country rep in South Africa says South Africa, the most advanced economy on the continent, could hit a growth above 3% in 2 years' time if reforms are kept at a steady pace under Ramaphosa's administration. In the meantime, the pharmacy retailer, which is the one biggest name in South Africa, Dischem, says his retail revenue rose 15.5% to about 11.4 billion rand in this first half of 2022, while NAMPAC revenue climbed about 83%. That was boosted by improved sales volume after the pressure that came from 2020 on the back of the pandemic. And Standard Bank has placed Namibia and 5 other countries as the highest debt risks on the continent. Come with me to North Africa and let's wrap up the show this Tuesday, the 15th of February, with the 4-day Egypt's Petroleum show for 2022 discussing long-term energy transition. Egypt, as you're already aware, is hosting the COP27 Global Climate Change Conference, one-week conference in June. So ahead of that, Egypt is already hosting its own conference and talking about the road to transition of energy, long-term energy transition program. We'll see a whole lot more on this in the days and months ahead. And Egypt's reporting a trade deficit down about 63% to about $1.2 billion in November 2021. When we get full year 2021 figures, that will be reported as well. And the country's, Egypt's gas profits surged 73% to about 146.8 million local currency, that's Egyptian pounds for last year. That's the company reporting as a listed entity on the Egyptian Stock Exchange, while Morocco's central bank is signaling a deal with CDG Invest to promote fintechs in the country. Fintech, and that is the buzzword on the African continent, technology and the digital space. And that sums it up this Tuesday on your Frontier Opening Bell. I am boosting off. I hope you enjoyed the show. You can watch it again on our YouTube at Frontier Africa Reports. And of course, remember to visit our website, frontierafricareports.com, read our stories, share, and of course, like it as well. And follow us on social media platforms, on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on Twitter, as well as Facebook. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.